Greetings, everybody. This is Courtney Starhart, and I'm here with Greg Lake. I'm excited to be doing a series of interviews about the legality of plant medicine and entheogenic churches. And we have our expert here. Would you state your qualifications?
Yeah, Greg Lake. I've been consulting, legal consulting for entheogenic churches over the last 6 months, but have been heavily involved. I'm now developing a website, entheoconnect.com, which is going to help link people in this space to plant medicine churches and retreats across the U.S. and worldwide, amongst other things. But that's kind of the thrust of the website. But yeah, I've been working in this space and have done a lot of research over the last 6 months.
That's amazing. Something we've been sorely lacking in the medicine community is enthusiastic, appropriate legal representation, So there's been a lot of fear over the years, especially with Native medicine people, about, getting in trouble for administering plant medicine, which is obviously part of our religion, So it's really encouraging that we have support.
Yeah, and I've noticed that, once I got into this space, I've been, approached by untold number of people who have been kind of, underground practitioners for quite some time, who wish to, come above board and get their paperwork in order and, do these certain things that bring an air of legitimacy to their operation to where they can feel more comfortable in their practice. And so that's kind of what I've been helping them do. And I'll talk about this in a second, but anytime we're engaged in a sacred ceremony, more likely than not, that's going to be a protected activity. Now, but when you get your church documents in order, file for nonprofit status, things of that nature, it just kind of furthers your, if we're looking at protection on a spectrum, right, you're kicking the ball further down the field by getting everything documented correctly.
I like that analogy. That really makes a lot of sense. Yeah, moving the ball down the field.
Well, that's what we're trying to do, Courtney. Slowly but surely. I do feel, and I know we've talked about this, but I feel like we're at a special place in history, and we're making great progress with regards to the use of plant medicines as a religious matter for healing and growth. And so, yeah, if we keep going along the lines that we are, I think we're going to make great progress over the next 10 years. And, obviously, as things get more and more protected, people feel more at ease, and, these religions can really flourish, from there.
Yeah, we're at an amazing juncture, even 5-10 years ago, there was a lot of fear around it. And it was hard to find a good ceremony because people couldn't advertise or be above board about it. So, one of the things I like about being able to be transparent now is people can find good ceremonies more readily,
Yeah, no, and the underground thing, unfortunately, lends itself to people who shouldn't be holding ceremony, people ending up in the wrong hands. Whereas now, if people can go above board, people can openly talk about whatever retreats or ceremonies they've been to. It just increases the level of accountability that people have to, run their ceremonies in a sacred manner and as safely as possible. So, it kind of just internally regulates itself as these ceremonies and retreats come above ground and are more open about what, they're engaging in.
Yeah, that is so true. We talked about the legality of medicine. So we're approaching 100% confidence nowadays about it being legal, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then what are the other ways that we can move the ball forward down the field as far as legitimizing ceremony in the eyes of the government, at least?
So, the legal protection status, in this field generally comes from a few different sources, but I'll talk about first the Federal Religious Freedom and Restoration Act was legislated in the early to mid 90s in response to the Smith Supreme Court decision. And basically what I'm going to say RFRA for short, basically what the RFRA statute does is it makes anytime the government infringes upon a sincere religious belief or exercise subject to strict scrutiny, which is the highest level of constitutional scrutiny. And in a nutshell, what would happen is that if let's say the government seized some ayahuasca from a legitimate church, plant medicine church, they would then file in federal court and say, these sacraments that they were confiscated are absolutely necessary to our sincere religious practice. Now, once the plaintiff shows that burden, which is a pretty low burden to show sincerity, it would flip over to the government to show that there's some way, some harm or danger to the participants at the church, and then two, that there's some kind of danger of these substances leaking out into the markets. As many are aware, the UDV case in 2006, the Supreme Court basically said that, at least with regards to ayahuasca, in that scenario, and that's another thing, these RFRA cases are a case-by-case basis, right? So, but we can always use past precedent to kind of gauge on what we should do in the future. But in regards to the UDV case, the Supreme Court said, government, this health and safety thing is like 50-50, and so you don't meet your burden. And ultimately the UDV won. The federal government had to pay their attorney fees. And so from there, and then there was also a Santo Daime case, I think in 2009, that came up. And again, the government lost. And so from there, okay, another important case was City of Bernie v. Flores, basically said that the federal RFRA statute doesn't apply to the states. So in response, something like 21 states have enacted their own analogous RFRA statutes, which either mimic the language in the federal statute or substantially similar to the federal statute. And other states who haven't, doesn't mean that they don't protect plant medicine religions. A lot of the states already had constitutional provisions or other laws that provided just as much or as great of protection. And that's why they didn't, enact their own RFRA law. So that's basically where we're at. So, but a lot of this legal protection boils down to three things: the sincerity of the practice,
Right.
the safety of the participants, and basically substance handling.
Okay. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Well, so what about lineage and training? Does that matter? Because I mean, from my perspective as a traditionally trained medicine person, it took me 15 years to be authorized by a Native American shaman um, to pour medicine. It was a really serious business. I mean, I easily could have done a PhD, law school, JD, MBA, whatever. In the meantime, I could have been a brain surgeon.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's like, it's disconcerting sometimes when I see it's beautiful that there's the the excitement about plant medicine, but like I see young kids going to Costa Rica and they come back and they're shaman and they start pouring medicine and they call themselves a shaman, and it worries me about people's safety a little bit, and it feels like they're delegitimizing what those of us who studied a long time for have accomplished. And I don't want to see anyone getting into trouble and, even like maybe weakening our legal case as medicine people. Am I making sense?
Yeah, and so let me speak a little bit on that in regards to the legality of the practice. So, as far as the religion is concerned, I don't think the courts demand that the particular religious views have some kind of lineage attached to them. But I will say that, and this is why you see a lot of retreats that I've dealt with bring in people from South America, native people, to serve medicine at the retreats, because that's what you're practicing. And so those people obviously are very involved. And I will say the training and lineage of the practitioner really also relates to the safety, because they are experienced at pouring this medicine. They're experienced at watching people, during the process, so they can gauge where they're at. So yeah, they are inextricably tied. Now, why lineage and all that doesn't, I will say again, the more lineage that you have, I would say the greater protections that you have, but I'm not prepared to say that necessarily the lineage is going to be like the benchmark for protection. But I encourage everyone that I work with to absolutely have someone who's had years and years of training, or an actual indigenous South American or wherever, place to come up and serve the medicine, because it honestly goes to that level of protection that you're going to be receiving. I encourage it.
Well, and for me, I'm excited at the prospect of having the opportunity to train a lot of youth, so that they do have a lineage and they have the ability to tap into all of those resources of shamanic traditions. But at the same time, it has to be a living thing. We have to grow and transform, like the traditional religions, when especially the native ones, when they say, oh, it's always been this way and it always has to be this way. That's bogus. Any type of religion is a living, breathing thing,
Yep.
and in order to keep it alive, we got to pass it on, we got to give it away and share it.
Yeah, I agree. As we're just in a different time than 2,000 years ago in the Amazon jungle, and I'm a firm believer that people in a way have to meet the medicine where they're at, and so, yeah, I believe that some of these traditions will morph and change over time. But I think there is a core fundamental part of it that will always stay intact. And I think that is basically this, that the medicine is used to commune with a higher spiritual power, in order to answer general life questions, overarching life questions, specific life questions, and ultimately understand our place in the universe, in the cosmos, and our relations to each other, Mother Nature. Those are going to be like the core things that the purpose of the ceremony serves. Now, how the medicine is served and what order with this and that might change as it kind of spreads throughout the world. But again, there's going to be that core foundation of, at least why we're doing this, that I think will always stay. And I think that's the important part that we need to remember.
Yeah, that's definitely the core value of legitimate shamanic practice, and I don't know if shamanism is a religion or not, but the core value is always, communing with spirit personally.
Yeah, well, I identify my religion as a mix between South American shamanism and North American native traditions. I've kind of, I guess in my internal, I've kind of picked little parts and stuff to form my own, religious views, but I hold them very dear to my heart. And that's how I operate these days. That's how I found peace in the world, peace within me, and have answered a lot of questions about the universe and why things are the way they are, through engaging these different religious traditions.
Yeah, and direct experience trumps everything.
Mm-hmm.
I always
Yep.
tell people it's not a matter of faith, not when you've taken this medicine. No, you have direct experience then.
Yes. So I heard somebody on a podcast the other day say that these religions are a show you religion. It's not have faith that this is this and this. It's like, no, here you go, there goes the house, open any drawer you want to, take a look in any cupboard. It's not like, oh, don't open that drawer, it's bad what's in there. Like it's a show me religion, and it is what it is, and you're free to go look and find, and you know and again, looking back at my life and in circumstances I confront every day in these religions, I found the answers that everything made sense to me, and so, like, within my framework of my mind and my experience, that it's what made the most sense to me, and that's why I've latched on to those certain, set of beliefs.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the medicine.
And I will say this, it's great because in this space that we all kind of have slightly different views on a lot of this stuff. But like, again, there's that core foundation of things that we all pretty much agree on, that we can come together in unison on. And it just seems to work out, even though me and you might have little differences here and there, that doesn't really matter. We agree on the basic things. And I think the main thing that we agree on is that for those who are called to the plant medicine, that it can help heal, It can help develop people, and, you know,
Nights us.
grow a strong spiritual foundation with it. And so that's kind of where we all unite on. And, you know, again, I'm not prepared to say that everyone is, you know, prepared or fit for this, right? But I do believe certain people are called at certain times in their life to it. And I think that it should be made available to them, you know, to explore that if it's something that they so feel called to do.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's also part of the end of the patriarchy, you know, and the machine and all of that. Because as long as you can keep a lid on consciousness, you can
Mhm,
control people a
mhm,
lot better.
mhm.
But people who have their own thinking mind and their own personal power, they're really hard to control. And also, we unite readily, you know, because
Yep.
once we have that experience of being one with the universe, oh my gosh, we're kind of one with each other too. And we all fall in love with life, is the thing I think that's in common, you know?
Let me speak real quick on what you said about the patriarchy. Now, uh, I had an in-depth discussion about this when I was in Virginia a couple weeks ago. Yes, this from my work in this sector, I have seen that many brave women are stepping up to found these churches and retreats and hold these ceremonies. And I mean, women who have you know, forgone jobs, houses, all that to follow this path. And in the process, and you know, a lot of people get put off by the word church, they get put off by the word religion, but literally, and I tell them this: church, religion, they're really just legal terms of art in this space that we use to help kind of fit within the system that we have to work with. You know, we're dealt the hand of cards, we got to play it. But we're slowly redefining it, you know, and what it means. And these women, these very strong women who are stepping out of their comfort zone and environment to take charge is very comforting to me. You know, women just have that healing nature about them. And so whenever they can walk a path where they can heal other people and help other people. I mean, they're on board. And I love that about this. And it's just been an honor to work with you and a lot of the other women I have, because for me, it gives me faith that this thing is going to keep progressing forward, because I see you know, how much fervor they have in their hearts to progress this. And
Oh, they're so
yeah.
beautiful. I love watching my sisters at work, you know, in seeing everyone like stepping into a space of love. You know, it doesn't
Hmm.
always have to be about dog eat dog or about competition.
Mm-mm.
Um, and I want to say, there's been this huge misunderstanding about Darwin and survival of the fittest and dog eat dog. You know, he wrote a second book at the end of his life where he said, you know, my bad, my mistake. Actually, the defining factor of human beings is love and
Hmm.
cooperation. And the ascent of humanity is about us learning how to reunite and care for one another and,
Yep.
you know, to help each other out. And that's what the medicine does, is it makes you realize that, you know, we can do that. Like once we're a little bit more healed and we're in our
Hmm.
right place, we can actually come together and do the stuff that you're doing, like the cooperatives and, you know,
Hmm.
the support. It's really an amazing time we're in.
Yeah, and so that's another common theme that runs through all these
Ayahuasca
churches
teaches, yeah.
is love. That's it. You know, like basically the basis of the religion is love, unconditional universal love. And you know, once people come to understand that we're all one and that love is actually the most powerful force in the universe, like it completely shifts the way that we treat ourselves and treat others, you know. And I think that enough people get on board that it's really going to have a shift in consciousness effectuated across the planet. And whether that be through a plant medicine ceremony or other people catch on other ways, but like I think that one notion just completely redefines the way that we operate as a race.
Yeah. Well, I guess we pretty much covered the legality and the
Yeah.
benefits of, you know, ayahuasca churches, and I look forward to doing a bunch of videos together. This feels great.
Yeah. And like we said earlier, you know, I'd like to do a more lengthier one on the ins and outs of the legality. But you know, again, I just want people to know, short answer, that if you're engaged in a sincere religious practice, i.e., a sacred plant medicine ceremony, uh, generally you are protected in that practice. So you know, just know that, and you know, as long as you're sincere in your heart and your motives, you should be good to go.
Yay for religious freedom.
I support it 100%.
Okay. Well, we'll have to say bye for now, but I look forward to doing a bunch of these. So
Thank you, Courtney.
thank you.